All right, we are live. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We were on the second page early this morning covering a kind of a weird story with Alec Baldwin. But this story here was sent to me by BL, and she sent me some links, some research links about information regarding this wild. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Oh, I'm playing in the background. We were on this wild story. Wild 4-day party, bro. I don't think I've never done a 4-day, 3-day, 2-day, a 1-day. How many? What's the most you guys have ever done, like a party? How many days? This says this was at a 4-day, 22nd birthday party. This was in Oklahoma. What's the longest, like, and does that mean like consecutively? I mean, I know some people have done that. The festival, right? That what's that rave festival? Keep thinking about it. It's a couple days long, right? But like they take a break type of thing in between. You get rest. Maybe they took breaks or something. 2 days. Deb says 2 days. Chili Bean says 3 days. Benny says 5 days. Damn, Benny, jeez. and the kid was 19, teenager, 19 years old. This happened in September 4th, 2023. There have been no arrests, and people are looking at these kids at the party kind of sus. Almost feel like history is repeating itself, right? It's like we're just doomed repeating the same thing over and over and over. Rosie says, I'm a recovering addict and party every day for years. Wow. Well, congrats on the sobriety. Everyone confessing in the chat. Coachella's 2 weeks? Is it really? Wow. Damn, you gotta be burnt out by that. I want to show you guys this video. Some of you might have seen it in the trailer. Sometimes the trailer doesn't work because I checked the stream on my phone before starting and the video wasn't playing. So let me play the video. Play the video here. And this is some pretty wild partying. I mean, I've partied, but it's not the kind of party that I've partied. You know, but let's see. So that moment right here, they were actually writing stuff, I guess, on his butt.
These are the haunting last moments of 19-year-old Noah Presgrove, just hours before he was mysteriously found naked and dead on a lonely highway.
Now this guy here on the side, you can kind of barely see it, but I put it in the thumbnail. He's actually holding a gun. So they're all drinking, getting effed up. I'll show you a closer up picture. I think I have it here. I do. Snickerdoodle, thank you for the super chat. Says, hi, mods, Mel. Congrats on the move. Well, we're seeing I'm still waiting on the approval. I spoke to them today, so hopefully it happens. So he was holding like I guess this is a rifle. Rumors of like an altercation. And you guys can hit the like button on the stream first and then the super chat. So that's from that right there.
The teen was last seen alive at a wild 4-day party, which was heavily documented on social media on Labor Day weekend while drunkenly celebrating the end of summer. Noah had graduated from Comanche High School just a few months earlier and was planning to join the military. Mystery still surrounds the case months later, as family don't even know how he died and have complained his friends all claim to have no idea what happened to him and how he was wearing only his shoes.
How do you guys have no idea? This almost makes me think of Stephen Smith with the whole Murdoch stuff and how his body was like mysteriously on the road. I'm going to show you a map. We're going to look at some interviews and we're going to go over the article. But nobody knows unless he ran off on his own. Unless he ran off on his own and then somebody hit him. But, all right, check it out.
When his body was discovered. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation has released almost no details about the case, and the Oklahoma Highway Patrol refused to provide any details to maintain.
And I don't know. Again, like the partying stuff, I guess, you know, so this is how some people party, different, you know, I don't know, regions or cultures or even like fraternities. I saw one video. Oh, we're going to watch another one too. They were like slapping each other. This chick's running through a piece of cardboard, riding on each other's butt. Like, you know, I guess teenagers. That wasn't the type of partying that I did like that when I, you know, coming up. But my partying phase was kind of a little bit later in my younger 20s. It wasn't like in my teens.
The integrity of the investigation, leaving Noah's family in the dark since last year.
One-on-one, Mike Tyson.
So I'm going to show you another video that shows some more parts of the party. But let's get into this detail here first, how he was found, because they said here a teenager had his skull caved in, fingers torn up, and teeth knocked out before he died of internal bleeding on a roadside hours after vanishing from the party. So like this picture here, according to the Daily Mail article, the two lines here is where the body was found, like in between these two lines. And then I guess there was like some teeth found apart, like separate, you know. There's other pictures too we'll get into, but so he was found on the roadside, 19-year-old Noah Presgrove. He was only wearing his shoes when his body was discovered, so naked. Discovered on a desolate stretch of US 81 in Terral, Oklahoma on September 4th. He was last seen about a mile away at a 4-day 22nd birthday party with friends over Labor Day weekend that was heavily documented on social media. And there's photos showing the police chalk showed where his teeth were found scattered across the highway, some a dozen feet from his body. Further away, still a spot of blood, just like one little spot, it seems like. The only blood found at the scene. So, like, there's a whole bunch of different working theories as far as, like, was he hit by a car? Was he murdered somewhere and then dropped off there? Because why is there so little blood? So, a spot of blood, the only blood found at the scene, despite extensive injuries all over his upper body. He suffered massive blunt force trauma to the back of his head, causing his skull fractures, but not killing him. So here's the other thing, too. He actually bled to death. Let me see if they get into it right here. This is the other video we're going to watch. Instead, he died of internal bleeding in his torso, where he had several broken ribs, deep bruising on his left side. I'm wondering, you know, what were those kids doing? Were they just drinking? Were they on substances as well? You know, is this malicious, or could he have just run off wandering and then got hit by somebody? The teenager's body also had what looked like road rash on his left shoulder and hip, and his fingers were torn apart or torn up like he was desperately clinging to something. The cops have been super quiet. It says Oklahoma police patrol detectives are still unsure how he died, and they were told conflicting stories about that night. So let's check out this video. Let me show you the map real quick too. Map. So as it shows here, this was the party house, and he was found, I think they said less than a mile or 2 miles away. His body was found. I pulled it up on the map too. I'll show you here. Still doing that. So the party house would have been right here. And the body was found up the road right by like this area over here, up the Highway 81. So, you know, it's a pretty rural area. The sticks type of area, it seems like. Oh, it's right down here, this house right here. I don't know if it lets us get a street view. It's all like dirt. Let's see. No, not even a street view. Let me show you some video too before we continue from that night. I think this is a little different. It has a little bit more of the party.
Come on. Yes, come on, Shady. Oh! Damn.
This range, I will fucking. Dude, I'll just beat the.
Says something about I just beat the F out of whatever. You can hear the guy with the gun talking as well.
Dude, I'll just beat the. Kyle was talking about that man hit me.
I would just rather you know. I don't know where.
No, you slapped me. I slapped you.
As far as I can.
I do trust you. I trust me. I trust him. I trust him. Hit me soon. Go ahead. See, I wasn't gonna hold.
Music in it.
Some of the video we already saw. Trying to mute it for the copyright music, but it's the same video too. It's Jake running through the cardboard, whatever that is.
Which one?
Yeah, hand
We got
it.
it. You see my wiener? Country pimp. 1-on-1. Mike Tyson.
So I don't know who that weird lady is, but so yeah, supposedly conflicting reports. Found dead on the side of the highway with his teeth knocked out. And according to this, was so badly beaten that the mourners at his funeral said it even looked like he had been attacked by a gang of 5. Now, you know when these people, when they pass away and they at the funeral, the funeral home, I guess they put I forgot what it's called. Can't think of it now. They kind of get swollen up or whatever, but they were saying it's not even that. It looks like he was severely, supposedly beaten down. We know that he was only wearing his shoes. This was September 9th. A friend who wasn't at the party questioned one of the teenagers in the weeks that followed about what happened to cause his facial injuries. And that's the same video. It says, bro, everyone that saw Noah at the viewing, including me, saw his face was beat up bad. Bro, I know what a beat up face looks like. Definitely not just me saying that. Everyone saw him said that. Everyone that saw him said that. It looks like he got beat up by 5 dudes. So in that conversation, he also said, other people who saw the body said it looked like his nose and cheeks were broken. The damage to his face was in addition to other injuries to the back of his head and upper body, and added fuel to fears that he was murdered. The detectives say that they're unsure how he died, and they got conflicting reports. Theories about him being forcibly pushed off the bed of a moving truck where the blood spot was and staggering along the side of the road before collapsing. Let me see if we can find that picture with the spot of blood. So the body would be between this line here. The tooth would be there. Picture ready. This is the one with the spot of blood, or where the teeth are found. All right. Let's see. We got that already. Presgrove could have been also killed in an accident or murdered elsewhere, and his body was dumped on a highway. The other thing, too, and I read this somewhere, and I'm sure it's going to come up. You guys remember how they were writing and drawing on his back? Supposedly, when his body was found, that was all gone. All the markings and everything was not there anymore. Initial belief that he was killed in a hit and run was ruled out based on the pattern of his injuries that didn't include any damage to his lower body. Presgrove suffered massive blunt force trauma to the back of his head, causing skull fractures but not killing him, according to the correspondence with investigators shared with Daily Mail. So they spoke to the investigators. Instead, he died of internal bleeding in his torso, where he had several broken ribs and deep bruising on his left side. The teenager's body also had what looked like road rash on the left shoulder and hip. Road rash. and his fingers were torn up like he was desperately clinging to something. So he graduated from the Comanche High School just a few months earlier. That weekend, they were drunkenly celebrating the end of summer with a raging party at a birthday girl's home on a small street about a mile south from where his body was found. One video from the night he died showed some of Presgrove's friends writing their names on his bare buttocks with a marker. The street and the signs. The writing was not still there when his body was discovered. So I don't know what that means. They wrote on his, you can clearly see in the video, they were writing on him. And then when his body's found, all those writings are gone. Was he cleaned off? Was he washed? Did he take a dip before he was killed? Was he cleaned off? I don't know. So it was not still there when his body was discovered in the early hours of the morning, but it is not known how and when it was removed. Other photos showed the teenager writing on the buttocks of another friend and posing alongside with a signature on his chest. 2 more videos show Presgrove daring friends to slap him across the face as they partied under an outside patio at the house. Presgrove had to repeatedly insist that a male friend hit him, eventually only giving him a light slap before sprinting away in fear of retaliation. Another concerning photo appeared to show a teenager holding a rifle with Presgrove visible in the foreground. So that's the guy right there, holding a rifle. Everybody's drinking, getting messed up, hammered, wasted. So on the left, this is Presgrove with a friend on Sunday night at the party hours before his death. Presgrove's family complained his friends all claimed to have no idea what happened. Nobody knows what happened to him and how he ended up dead on the roadside hours later. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation described his death as suspicious days later, but few details have been released. Even Presgrove's family said they were in the dark, and the Oklahoma Highway Patrol refused to provide any details to maintain the integrity of the investigation. The longer you keep the truth inside, the guiltier you become. You could aid in getting justice for Noah, his sister Madison Rawlings said. You could do the right thing and may receive a mercy that was not given to him, but the longer we sit in silence, the worse it becomes for you. I don't know. So this is just odd. You know, if there is some type of involvement, how could so many people stay quiet about it? You know, do they just have like some type of agreement? I hope those involved see that we are not budging and the silence fuels our desire to know more. I miss Noah daily. That is the hardest chapter of my life, but I'm thankful I have a family that will not give up on each other. Presgrove's grandmother, Deborah Smith, also called on his friends to tell the whole story about what happened the night he died. Man, you think you got friends, right? People you're hanging out with, people you're partying with, especially, I guess, in high school. Partying with, you think these people love you and we're having the best time of our lives, and some shit goes down. I don't know what happened. Just like Riley Strain. Didn't Riley Strain, this is the guy in Tennessee that disappeared. We see him on video, intoxicated, somehow ends up in the water and is deceased. I thought the family said that his friends were partying the next day or something. They were out partying and shit. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, damn, bro. Fake ass people, right? I don't know if these kids are involved or not, but in this situation, but it's odd. Supposedly, according to the Daily Mail, they ruled out a hit and run. I want to try to confirm that more. I want to actually confirm that, but it said that earlier. Presgrove's grandmother, Deborah Smith, also called on his friends to tell the whole story the night about he died. When you think you have friends that you trust with all your heart, and then here it comes. Sorry, Noah, that your true friend stabbed you in the back. Right? How many stories do we cover like that? I mean, I've had my own experiences long ago when I used to party and I was hanging out with the wrong people, and God forbid something happens. These people are nowhere around. You think they're your friends. A piece of my heart is missing every day that goes by, and Noah doesn't walk through the door and still no answer. Just take another piece of my heart. There's the family right here. Aunt Robin Smith in the center. Grandma Deborah Smith on the right. Okay. There's an interview that BL sent me, I think, with the family that did an interview with News Nation. This is the graduation. Okay. That's his 19 years old. High school football player. His Aunt Smith begged anyone with information to at least tell the police so his family would have answers 7 months later. It almost reminds me, too, of that lady. I forgot the name. I don't know if there was an update on that story. That lady that went on a trip with these people, and she went out into the water and supposedly said she wanted to go swimming, and she disappeared in the water, and then these people stayed shut for months. They didn't say nothing to the family. They just hightailed and left her. I mean, she was dead, but and they wouldn't answer the family. They wouldn't answer emails, phone calls. I'll play this clip too because I liked how this lady had she showed where the body was found too, like a picture or video.
Back on September the 4th, the body of a 19-year-old male was found on the side of Highway 81, just a little over a mile north of Terral, Oklahoma. I'm not sure how you say it. I'm sure you guys will correct me in the comments. But you can see here, this is where the 19-year-old's body was found, and that body was later identified as 19-year-old Noah Presgrove. This is Noah, and he had just graduated a few months ago from Comanche High School in Comanche, Oklahoma.
Comanche.
The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation is investigating his death as a suspicious death, and there are tons of rumors surrounding his death. His family does not believe that this was a hit and run. They believe that this was cold-blooded murder at the hands of individuals who were supposedly friends of Noah's. It seems that the most common rumor is that he was at a party that evening, got into an altercation with other individuals, and that he left on foot to either get away or just to calm down and cool off. Allegedly, 2 or 3 individuals followed Noah and beat him to death.
Wow.
But there have been no persons of interest named in this case, and his family is desperate to find out the truth about what happened to Noah. So if you have any information that can help this family.
Okay. She did post. Let me see. There it is. Yeah. I just looked away for a second. But that's where his body was found. I think this has one of the interviews. This is Ashley Banfield, News
Noah
Nation.
never made it home from that party. On Labor Day, September 4th, he was found dead less than a mile away on the side of a rural highway. He was naked except for his shoes, and to this day, nobody knows what happened to him. I should say that Noah's family doesn't know. And if police know, they are doing a great job of hiding it. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation declared his death suspicious, but they've released almost no other details. Same with the Highway Patrol. The funeral home did give Noah's family a preliminary death certificate and listed the cause of death as blunt force trauma, but that's not official, and it's not confirmed either. And it's now been 7 agonizing months.
That's not official and not confirmed.
And listed the home did give Noah's family a same with the Highway Patrol. The funeral home did give Noah's family a preliminary death certificate.
Maybe think about the Idaho murders too. That I think the coroner supposedly passed on some information
and listed the cause of death as blunt force trauma, but that's not official, and it's not confirmed either. And it's now been 7 agonizing months. I'm joined now by Noah's sister and his cousin and his aunt, Madison Rawlings, Ashley Chadwick, and Robin Smith. Thank you to all 3 of you for being on the program tonight. And may I just say, I am so incredibly sorry for what your family is going through. I cannot imagine just how traumatic it is and how stressful it is while you're trying to grieve. So I'm very appreciative that you came on the program tonight. Madison, can I begin with you? These last 7 months, what are the authorities telling you when you ask them for answers?
Really, all we get is we're working on it. It's a small community. We don't want it out. We don't want any of our leads to get messed up, or we just keep it quiet for now. It's pretty quiet on our end and on the officers' ends as far as we know.
And this is in a place, Oklahoma Terral. It really does look like a pretty small town and community. I'm going to look up the population while we watch this.
But is there no victim's advocate who's like working with you and at least helpful to you to guide you through this process?
And no, ma'am, we have not been assigned a victim advocate at all.
Are you upset with the authorities in how they've treated you? And do you feel that they really are?
Damn. Bro, this is like, it says, according to this, population is 200. Oh, there's different. Okay, so it's actually decreased in population. Back in the 1990s, it was like 469. And slowly over the years, it's decreased. 2010, 382. Anyway, to the current time, or the closest, 2022, it says 280 people. Wow.
Continuing this investigation and that they're keeping things close to their vests for good reason?
I want to believe that in my heart. I want to understand that they are doing their job and that I just need to trust the process, and they do this more than me ever. And so I think there's that hopefulness that as long as I believe, they believe, and everything is going to figure itself out. But I think as time continues on and we see nothing month after month after month, that when that hope dies, what comes next? And if I'm not proactive now, well, then did I miss my opportunity to get some more help?
Ashley, let me ask you about the same, question in terms of asking for regular updates, not getting any. What actually do they say? Like, what sort of verbiage do they use to try to assuage your concerns, your understandable concerns?
As far as assuaging our views on what is being done, there's nothing. We're working on it, and that's it. That's pretty much it. That's what they leave it at. There's no elaboration, nothing. So that's what we're going off of. And, there's feelings of frustration, sometimes, and aggravation. And that's kind of where we're at. I mean, a lot of us go through the process of grieving, where we were sad, and some are going through the process of being angry.
So, Robin, the preliminary death certificate that mentions the blunt force trauma, that's from the funeral processing, but not from the authorities. Why did they even give that to you? For what purpose would they have done that, but not for you to just be more frustrated that you can't get the final answer?
Well, in Oklahoma, the preliminary death certificate does come from the state. It's just not complete. It's not signed off on by the state. And it won't be until the investigation is finished and the official cause of death is listed.
I'm imagining you're as frustrated as anyone else, in the family, but do you make regular attempts to call the medical examiner and ask for cause of death, manner of death, any of the above, any information at all, Robin?
There's been multiple attempts to reach out to the ME. They've told us that it's pending investigation. They cannot release a report until investigation is done.
We were just looking at pictures of Noah. He's just such a lovely looking kid. It's such a tragedy. Madison, these friends at the party, it seemed like a raging party. And, you know, they do what lots of teenagers do. They mess around, they slap each other. But in one picture, we noticed that there was a teenager holding a long gun. Is there any suspicion at all? Is anyone addressing that? And are these party goers helping you and telling you what they know?
As far as telling us what they know, whenever everything first happened, everyone had their own rumor. They had their own opportunities to come talk to the family, and a few did come to the house and chat with us. But since then, it's been pretty quiet. No one speaks to anybody really. And I think as far as the gun, it was brought up to the investigators and stuff, but since there was no indication of him being shot that we know of, I don't think that they really looked into it that far.
Did the kids have at least stories that corroborated each other? Meaning, did it feel as though they were telling you the truth about everything they knew?
No, ma'am. We did not get told the same story by any children.
Oh.
And sometimes we got told different stories by the same kid. So he would.
So conflicting stories, and even sometimes from the same person telling different stories.
Come and tell us one story, and then a few days later, we'd get a completely different story.
And did the police know about this? Were they all questioned by the police? Did they all give statements?
Not that we're aware.
No, they were questioned by the police on the second or third day. They haven't been questioned since. There was inconsistencies.
Have you been able to tell the police? Sorry to interrupt. Have you been able to tell the police that you've been getting different stories?
Yes.
Well, at least they know that. I mean, that's something. Robin, as Noah's aunt, what would you like everybody watching to know about your nephew?
He was ferocious in life. He embraced it. He didn't hold grudges. He loved life. He had fun. He didn't let anything get to him. He just was so forgiving. He was just such a sweet kid. He was so fearless. He would just be standing there and do a flip in front of you straight off the ground. He was just such a good kid. He had such a good outlook on life. He had so much going for him, and he was a light.
And he was going to serve in the military as well. Ashley, do you want to add to that?
Yes. Noah was a lot of fun, and he was goofy. He was silly. He just had that personality that people gravitated to. And that's why he did have such a big friend base, you know, and people that stuck with him for a long time as a friend. And as for what the world to remember him, he would give the shirt off his back. He was willing to help. He's helped people in the family do things, handiwork. He was amazing, and he was as big of a heart that he had. He was even bigger on forgiveness. So he was just great.
Well, one of my teammates just said, may we all be as ferocious in life as Noah. We'll stay on this, and you stay in touch with us and let us know what's happening in this investigation. But I suspect you should be getting answers sooner rather than later. That's been far too long. Thank you to all three of you. Madison.
So it's been almost, I think, like 7 months since he was found deceased. It's crazy to think 7 months later, you at this, you know, this party with multiple people. Your body's found less than or about a mile away, and 7 months plus, still nothing. No arrests, no real big announcements from police. They've been quiet. Are they looking into this? Let's see, one post from September 2023, September 19, 2023, that they made about this. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol. I don't know if they made other posts. They were asking for the public's help with the investigation, for tips.
Fourth, he was found dead less than a mile away from that party on the side of a rural highway. He was naked except for his shoes. And to this day, neither Noah's family nor the police know how he got there. But now the family is sharing some heartrending details that they do know that haven't been made public before. They say an investigator told them the back of Noah's head was caved in, that he had road rash on his hip and gravel rash on his shoulder and multiple bruises. A friend's dad who went to the scene says that some of Noah's teeth were scattered on the ground.
Dwight said, who supplied the alcohol? No idea. Good question. Somebody was asking on Facebook the same thing and asking about the laws and who provided and trying to hold people accountable. Somebody said earlier, too, that, I don't know, he was found naked and those markers that they drew on his butt, all that stuff was not on his body when he was found. So I don't know if at some point he cleaned himself before the situation happened, or did somebody clean him in hopes to get rid of evidence or like DNA, like somebody else mentioned in the chat.
A pair of white shorts was a few feet away, and the shoes that Noah had on, only one of those shoes belonged to Noah. And
what the heck? Okay, so let's get that back. He was found with shoes, but only one of the shoes were his, and the other one was somebody else's. His shorts were a little bit away, not too far away from him. Because somebody in the chat was asking too, like, well, where was his clothes, and did they find him?
Ground. The scene says that some of Noah's teeth were on his hip, head was caved in, that he had road rash on his hip and gravel rash on his shoulder and multiple bruises. A friend's dad who went to the scene says that some of Noah's teeth were scattered on the ground. A pair of white shorts was a few feet away, and the shoes that Noah had on, only one of those shoes belonged to Noah, and the other shoe belonged to a friend. At the funeral home, Noah's body was bruised all over and swollen. Noah's aunt says that it was obvious his nose and his cheek were broken. His cousin says that his fingertips were shredded, as if he'd been holding on to something for dear life. I'm joined now by Noah's aunt and his cousin, Robin Smith and Ashley Chadwick. Robin and Ashley, thank you so much for being here again tonight.
Damn, shredded. I mean, was he hit with a vehicle and he was stuck to the vehicle and being dragged for a bit?
It's hard to read those details and have you listening. I know you're listening and I know you've been living this, and I just can't imagine how you're processing all of it. I'm also very curious how the investigators explained those details to you. Robin, can you field this first one? What did the investigators say when you learned about the extent of these injuries?
They said that they didn't think that this was from a vehicle. It wasn't an auto ped. There was no indication of wraparound. There was no indication of any kind of injuries to the lower half of his body. So his pelvic would have had injury, his legs, but there was nothing on the lower half of his body. Everything was to the top of his body on the left side. There was a wound to the back of his head, different skull fractures. He had ribs broken, and it was all on the left side.
When you say no wraparound, is that the terminology they use? If it had been a hit and run, there'd be some indication that he would have somehow wrapped around whatever it was that hit him?
Yes, whether it was from the front or the back. If he had been hit forward, he would have gone forward over the hood. And if he had been hit from the back, he would have splayed back over the hood. And there was no indication of that whatsoever.
I know in another case that we covered, There was some talk about what about a rear view mirror of like a semi or a big heavy truck? Could that have been it if he were on the side of the road and got sideswiped with a rear view mirror?
No, they said that so Noah was tall. He was 6'2", 6'3". He was a tall kid. So even a normal car would have been it would have been too short, especially for the injury on his head. But if a normal car had hit him, that there would have been plastic in the road. There was nothing. There was nothing at the scene. If a semi or a truck mirror had hit him, they said, and this is a little graphic, but that his head would not have remained attached to his body at those highway speeds. The speed in that area is 65 miles per hour. It's rural Oklahoma. Everybody's doing a little bit more than 65.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I can see how they've sort of, by the process of elimination, tried to explain some of these things, but still without answers. So, Ashley, when you went to the funeral home, tell me a little bit about the experience and what you saw when you were there.
When I had went to the viewing at the funeral home.
And the party house is actually in the city. I was using the Daily Mail's map, and I thought it was like before the city, a little bit before, like out. But over here, it's like right in this little city here, Terral.
I was there roughly a total of 7 minutes. I did not last long. I spoke to my family when I arrived, and I went into the room of where his body was. And whenever I approached the casket, I immediately saw that he did not appear of what he normally looked like. His face was so swollen, and you could tell with the makeup, like they tried their best. He was really dark complected. The bruising all over his body was tremendous. When I looked at his hands, his fingertips looked as if he was like kind of hanging on or reaching out for something or doing whatever he possibly could to get away from whatever it was, as I'm assuming, because his fingertips were so like beat up. They were kind of like shredded in a sense. I don't know how best to put it in terminology. And as for how he was clothed in the casket, they put blue jeans on him, and he was going to wear his football jersey, but they had to put a like long sleeve underneath like a Under Armour type of long sleeve material underneath the jersey due to all the excessive bruising on his body.
Thank you for watching. Go to News Nation.
So odd. And police haven't said much. This one's a forensic expert, Ashley Banfield.
More than 7 months after Noah Presgrove died in Oklahoma at the age of 19, investigators still haven't said how it happened or who might be responsible or really much of anything other than the death is suspicious. Tonight, we learned from Noah's family that when the teenager was found on the side of a highway back on Labor Day, the back of his head was caved in. Some of his teeth were missing. His nose and his cheeks appeared broken. His fingertips were shredded. He was naked, except for a pair of mismatched shoes, one belonging to him and the other belonging to a friend. I'm joined now by Joseph Scott Morgan, a certified death investigator and distinguished scholar at Jacksonville State University. So, all right, Joe, I want to go over that list. I want to pop it up on the screen just sort of as a guide here, because with your prism and how you look at things, I thought maybe this would tell a story that we're not seeing. Start with this. The back of his head was caved in. Some of his teeth were missing and scattered where he was found. His nose and his cheeks appeared broken. His body seemed beaten and swollen. His fingertips were torn up. There was gravel under his nails. There was road rash on his hip and gravel rash on his shoulder. We're working on getting the list up, but I know that you have a good memory. So Joseph Scott Morgan, what does that tell you?
Yeah, this large injury that Noah sustained to the back of his head is interesting to me because that is likely a point of impact, perhaps. Now, that impact can arise from any number of things: falling from a moving vehicle as a pedestrian, maybe being pushed out. It could also arise from an attack that preceded being left on the side of the road. So for us in forensics, it's very important to examine that particular injury very carefully. And at the risk of being too gruesome here, we would shave the head in that area to pick up on any particular pattern. Sometimes the road will produce stuff, but you can also have instruments that are used. Blunt trauma is what we're talking about here, Ash. And you look for that abraded pattern there. So that's something that we would certainly look at, particularly as it applies to this head injury. It sounds horrible.
I think you and I did a couple of cases together where there's a lot of talk about, specific geographic locations of dirt or gravel.
Yeah.
Dirt here is not the same as dirt 15 blocks down the road. And so would there be an interest in figuring out the gravel that was found in his hip, the gravel that was found in his shoulder versus the gravel where he was actually discovered?
That's actually a very interesting point to know if the location where his body was found is that where everything happened, or just down by like the gravel right by the house or the outside or whatever actually matches all the gravel that's on him, on his body. So maybe you could actually tell where this thing actually happened. That's interesting.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Forensic geology is what comes into play here. You begin to think about this area and the topography, also the composition of the local soil. And we're talking about a roadbed too. So folks at home will get an idea of what's referred to as like pea gravel. It's kind of the bed that's laid down. You can see it on the shoulders of the road. So I would want to make sure that anything that is recovered or was recovered from Noah's remains actually marries up with what you're seeing at that site, or did this occur elsewhere? That's going to be very, very important here in this particular case, because I got to tell you, Ashley, I've worked a lot of cases over my career where we've had bodies that were dumped along the side of the road because it's convenient for that to happen.
Yeah. The other thing is the investigator told the family, this has to be quick, but the gravel rash happened first and the road rash happened when someone placed him on the highway. That's what the investigators intimated to the family. What does that mean?
Well, the road rash itself that they're talking about, that almost sounds like a dragging event, Ash, and you'll get these kind of striated abrasions that come along with that. It's very distinctive when you take a look at this, and that's the transfer of the surface, the friction of the surface to the underlying skin. And keep in mind, and I got to say this, look, you're talking about a kid here that's completely nude. One of the things that I'm going to do anytime, it doesn't matter if male or female, doing a rape kit, going to do a rape kit. And I know that they said that they found underwear adjacent. I want to know the status of that underwear as well. Was it ripped away? Was it twisted and torn? That's something that we see in motor vehicle accidents. I want to know how the underwear got off his body, and I want to know where the rest of his clothing is.
I'm going to have you back because there's a whole other page that I want to go over with you regarding this.
Cheeks made an interesting point in the chat as well. Says, hear me out. Local PD is handling this. The local police department. The small ass town of less than 300 people, according to the 2022 stats. And she says, this town/city is an everyone knows everyone small city. Some of these kids have some type of link to local law. The odds aren't small. Someone knows. Who knows? Yeah, they could have attachments, ties. Who knows, law enforcement or some other body up in the echelon or whatever. I mean, 7 months later and there's like no peep, really. Damn.
But I thought I had more time.
This is an old clip from 2023.
I know that he's okay.
Quality's not great.
And that we will be okay. but I think it would make it easier if we knew why.
A family forever left with a missing piece after 19-year-old Noah Presgrove's death back in September. Nearly 3 months later, they say they're no closer to finding the truth.
Look, 10 to life. Somebody tagged 10 to life.
Like, we're still in the same position, still kind of stagnant in a sense, and we're still wanting answers. Other than that, that's kind of where we're at.
Presgrove was found dead on the side of Highway 81 on September 4th, and the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation declared his death suspicious the next day. The organization is assisting Oklahoma Highway Patrol in that investigation, who says they're not releasing any details to maintain the, quote, integrity of the investigation. The teen's family says they just want answers.
Even if it was an accident, like, it doesn't matter. Come clean. It hurts not to know. It'll hurt knowing, but it hurts more not to know. And wondering and just thinking every night what happened.
For 7 News, I'm Destiny Fuller.
Let's see this one too.
Spencer Humphrey sat down with the family of Noah Presgrove, the 19-year-old who was found dead on the side of a Jefferson County highway back on Labor Day weekend.
7 months later, they still have questions. Spencer.
Yeah, that's right, guys. Noah's family came out in full force tonight, at least 24 of them coming together to tell me about the lack of answers they feel they've gotten from the people tasked with investigating.
Whoa. Froze on me there.
Noah's death, leaving them no more sure what happened to him than they were the day he was found dead.
7 months is a long time.
Every single day, I think about him.
A long time for Noah Presgrove's aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings, and grandparents to reflect on the 19-year-old's short life.
Not a time when you saw that boy did he not give you a hug, tell you how much he loved you.
He was goofy. He was hilarious. Fearless. Very fearless.
I've taught him life and about having fun in life, you know, and he's just always been there with us.
It's been a long time to wonder what led to Noah being found dead, lying on the side of Highway 81 in rural Jefferson County after a night partying with friends back on Labor Day.
At the end of the day, what we know is that he lost his life. He was found on the side of the highway, and it appears that he was dumped there. And someone knows what happened, and we want to know what happened.
When you don't have answers, you can't close your heart from that heartache.
They hoped investigators with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol would help fill in some of those gaps. But investigators told them something else.
That they're working on it and they just want to keep it quiet.
Noah's family says investigators won't share them the medical examiner's report, which could at least tell them what caused Noah's death.
We're just not getting no answers.
I feel that we've been...
Yeah, Hooks was sharing a story. I was trying to catch up with it in the chat. It was kind of in pieces. But he said my uncle was at a bar. He decided to walk home. I guess trying to do the responsible thing too, maybe. I don't know. Maybe he didn't drive. I don't know. But so he decided to walk home, and someone from the bar hit him and dragged him for 2 miles. It's been some 20 years and no arrest. Wow.
And pretty much left in the dark for the past few months. They say that they're working on it, but nothing's happening.
Right now, they're just left to guess.
You can't move past, you just keep living in the anger.
And hope that someone, anyone who knows more will feel it in their heart to give this family answers before 7 months turns into 8.
What if it was their child? How would they feel if nobody was talking or saying anything? When you know that your child was with some of his best friends, but nobody knows anything, how would you feel?
Now, we reached out to the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, which is the agency leading the investigation into Noah's death, and I asked them if they could share the latest updates they have on the investigation. A spokesperson simply told me the investigation is ongoing.
Well, I mean, it's been 7 months. Who knows? I mean, maybe they could be working on stuff. Maybe they have leads. I don't know. Maybe they, so there's been times with cases where like we think they're doing nothing and boom, they pop out with all this stuff. Has been a long time though. What's up, Kick Rocks? And at the scene of the crime again, which is just so like, where's that picture at? Just one like spot of blood with all that happening to him. That's kind of weird too. So we get the picture. Is it this one? That's the next one. Yeah, that's the spot of blood. That's all the blood that was at the scene from what I've read. And to have all those injuries is kind of crazy. I don't know if it really happened there where his body was found. Folks said a lot of hit and runs go unanswered for. There is this story, unrelated, but I was watching this YouTube page that I really like to watch. And it was this couple that had left their kids at home and they went for a drive to the town to get like groceries and stuff like that. And they never came back. And people came up with all kinds of theories, like they abandoned their kids. They all kinds of crazy-ish. Let me see, is it this one?
For them since.
And it ended up being, I mean, this thing spanned over, let me see how many years. Let's see here. I don't know if it's this one.
Every weekend from that point, Dan and the Olympic National Park dive team searched for the couple, but came up with nothing. Then, on the morning of December 7th, 2001, they descended to about 70 feet or 21 meters and came across a crevice in the rocky slope. Inside it, they found a black flower vase. It wasn't just any flower vase, though. It was a very specific flower vase for a very specific location, which was the dashboard of a 1927 Chevy sedan. Then, nearby, a second item was found hanging off the underwater rock face, and that was the metal lid of a washing machine. The items were gathered and brought to the surface for study, but with winter fully setting in, the year would close with no further discoveries. Searches for the Warrens resumed the next spring, and the biggest breakthrough came on April 13, 2002. Dan sent 2 divers into the lake and told them if they discovered anything to send a buoy up to the surface. It wasn't even 15 minutes when a buoy came shooting out of the water. In the dive support boat, the team then went in great condition, all things.
I think they found the vehicle and they found the body, but this started like all the way from back in the day, from like I forgot how many years and years and years. They even abandoned the dive because back then they didn't really have they couldn't dive that deep. All there was like this highway that had some tire tracks. It was not highway, it was like this road along this mountain, and I guess by accident they ran off of it. But it went unsolved for like, bro, so long. I don't know. But this, this is very sus. Very sus. I should actually look it up. I'm kind of curious to like hit and run statistics. Like hit and run. Keyboard. I just wonder, do they get caught? Hit and run statistics. Nationwide, fewer than 10% of hit and run drivers are arrested and successfully prosecuted in criminal court. That's according to this one website, Solution Now law firm. Holy moly. Another website, Daytona Beach News Journal, gives about the same number. Solve rates for hit and runs crashes are dismal. A 2021 report from Flock Safety, a company that makes license plate readers, reported that only 10% of cases are nationally solved. Wow. It makes me think of Stephen Smith again, like I said earlier, with this Alec Murdoch, this kid that was found on the, is it Stephen Smith, found on the side of the road. And it's suspicious. You know, I've covered it a few times. Let's see, what's the last video they did on this? Stephen Smith, Alex Murdoch. These are all old videos.
Involving Stephen Smith, who was just in the news yesterday as we talked about Buster Murdoch releasing a statement on him. Well, this is from the family attorneys for Stephen Smith's family, Bland Richter. It says they are proud to announce that after an extraordinary disclosure phone call with SLED Chief Mark Keel, that the death of Stephen Smith is now considered a homicide, a shock.
I haven't checked in a while. I don't know what else they've said. I mean, has anything else come from the investigation? Stephen Smith is another kind of Murdoch. I don't see anything recent. I see nothing in this year. I don't know if they're ever going to solve that one either. So, well, really interesting story. Thank you, Bill, for sending me that. I am going to send her a story that I want her to look into when she has a chance. Next week is going to be pretty busy. We're going to be doing a trial. And I don't know. I hope they figure this out. These little kids keeping quiet. I don't know. Conflicting stories. Sled. I don't get that. Walking naked. His boxers found somewhere else. He's wearing his friend's shoes. I guess they're all messed up. Was killed halfway through the dragon when his body hit the edge of a culvert. Oh, this is a different person. So James Byrd in 1998 Jr. dragged him for 3 miles behind a Ford pickup truck along an asphalt road. Byrd, who remained conscious for much of this ordeal, was killed about halfway through the dragging when his body was hit the edge of a culvert, severing his right arm and head. Wow. James Byrd. Whoa.
More than 20 years after one of the worst hate crimes this nation has ever seen, Texas executed John William King tonight. King was put to death tonight in Huntsville just after 6 for the 1998 hate crime murder of James Byrd Jr. He spoke no final words. Byrd was kidnapped and then tied behind a pickup truck and dragged for nearly 3 miles in the East Texas city of Jasper, all because he was black. King is the second, by the way, to be put to death for Mr. Byrd's killing. Lawrence Brewer was executed for the same crime in 2011. There's a third man who was involved, Sean Berry. He is currently serving life in prison. The murder
hide your face now.
Of James Byrd was so gruesome. It was, in fact, one of the crimes in this country that led to hate crime laws that are currently in place in the United States.
Sounds like a really bad way to go. Painful way to go. Being dragged like that. That is like a slow, painful way to go. Wow. All right, y'all. I guess I'm gonna head out for now. Just stay tuned, man. If we get any chases, standoffs, whatever. Also, subscribe to the second page. I'll keep an eye on all the stories out there. And yeah, be safe. Catch you later, right? Peace. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Bloop, bloop.